Well, well. Welcome to the first episode of the How to Cheat a Geoguessr podcast. I am one of your hosts, not the only one, but one of them. Sunken City 64. Don't ever please call me that. But just Ben is fine. As you can see, I've brought out a classic outfit from the old streams. The OGs recognise it. I thought if we're going to do some learning today, we're going to do some teaching. We need to kind of dress up for the occasion. So yeah, it's nice to see everybody here. Thank you for all the support. This is the first episode, and it's going to be a little bit different to some of the other episodes in the podcast series, in that we are introducing the fundamentals, the basics of Geoguessr. Some of you out there, a lot of you out there, probably know a decent amount of information. There's always room to learn. However, I think this is important info to cover off, get out of the way, before we start looking at polls in South America, right? Yeah. So, first and foremost, I'd like to say, first episode about the basics. We're going to be moving on to continents from this point onwards. I think the second episode we're going to be looking at South America, which we know everybody basically already knows every inch of South America back and front, so it'd probably be a waste of time. But I'm sure somebody will need the information. Not me, though, as I'm an expert. So, yeah, from this point onwards, once we've got this out of the way, we'll be looking at continents, and we'll be breaking those continents down to see how you can make better guesses. Can you get the countries with inside them? What meta is there? What posts? What bollards? All the rest of it. That will be coming. But first, we are going to cover off the basics. Now, I did say it's not just me hosting this thing. Now, I know I have a great geography knowledge, and I could probably host this solo, and you'd all be blown away. But I thought, you know what? Let's just bring on a couple of legendary neeks to help out. I do, first and foremost, want to introduce the lovely, lovely Nighty. Nighty, please take it away. Introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are, what you're about.
Hey guys, I think all of you know me. Don't think I need much of an introduction. Nighty, my name. Playing Geoguessr for now about 5 years, longer than 5 years. Few of you, I'm sure, have seen a few of my YouTube videos where I just started playing Geoguessr. Not much content on it now, new content, but doesn't matter. I'm here to help Ben. And it's not only me, it's a third person as well.
That is very true. The other, a gorgeous, wonderful, incredible, legendary neek is RC. RC, take it away. Let us know a bit about yourself.
Hello, I'm RC or Radu. I've been playing for about, I think, over 2 years, and I don't know, I guess I'm decent at the game. I do have a YouTube channel, and I also have a Twitch, which I rarely stream, but you can check me out on both. And so thank you for having me, Ben.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll be honest. You know, jokes aside, these guys are some of the best in the world at this game. That's no exaggeration. And they bring with them an incredible amount of knowledge. You know, for me personally, I've been streaming this game for a few months, and I was blown away by the consistency, the incredible guesses, just the sheer quality of their gameplay when they came to my stream. And I've been blessed with having these guys there to help out and give information and bits and tricks and all the rest of it as we've been going on. And the opportunity to be able to put this into a format that we can share is even more exciting. So obviously we've got the show as it is now, live, but we will be uploading the full show and clipping it down into sort of sections on my YouTube channel, which is in the chat as we speak. So if you're not subscribed already there and you want to check out this content at a later date, yeah, go forth, go subscribe. So enough of the introduction. I think we need to move on to some of the information. that we're looking to discuss tonight. So, first and foremost, let's just talk a little bit about Geoguessr as a game, and kind of where do you start? And I think the key point to starting a Geoguessr is where do you even decide to play on? What's like a recommended map? Where do you guys think, as a newish player, where would you kind of go to kind of enjoy the game and maybe look to improve and see how that goes? What maps would you guys suggest?
Definitely not the world map.
Yeah, don't go on the world map. I would say probably a diverse world. I think the locations they're often not that difficult, and also not many like tricky locations compared to some other maps like a balanced world. So I would say probably start off with a diverse world.
Yep, definitely. And also the old diverse world 2.0 or 2.x, as it's called now, I think. I mean, us experienced players now roughly every location in that map, but it has tens of thousands of locations. And for new players, it's the best because the new diverse world, it's a bit repetitive, I think. It should be a bit, put a bit of more work into it.
Okay, a little bit of
Yeah.
feedback there on the diverse world. So in terms of what makes, say, like the core GeoGuessr maps, like let's say like America or the world map, like what what makes them bad for when you start the game up?
Well, I
Uh,
think you want to try and like see the whole world. If you want to be good at the game, you can't be good at like just one country. I mean, I understand there's like some people who are like really good at certain countries, but I would say that like overall you need to try and like do good at other countries as
yeah.
well.
And if it's their home country, I'm sure they want to play their home country, but the official maps of the countries are pretty bad, especially if it's Australia or the United States, because it has so many bad cameras. It's unbelievable. Old camera from pre-2008, where it's only blurry. That is not fun. And many great players have created maps of that countries. That's way better. Just search for the map in the bar and play that, and don't play the official maps.
Yeah, certainly a couple of names that come to mind. I know of at least. Wolf Trekker, very strong map creator. Mapper also being another one. Is there any other names that you guys would recommend checking out?
Simi has a few great maps. Simi 998.
Yeah, Simi has a lot of country specific and continent specific maps, so yeah.
Solid. Okay, so we've decided. I mean, I kind of was introduced this game, and when I started streaming it, almost immediately people said, "Oh, you should play a diverse world." So I mean, pretty much since then, that's the kind of map I've stuck to, and yeah, I think it really it does give you like a very good kind of varied experience of like a decent global map. So I can definitely attest to that. I mean, in terms of that, I mean, they're the maps. When it comes to game modes, I know recently GeoGuessr's, I mean, long overdue, I think some would argue, had a bit of a revamp in terms of what's available for game modes. It's no longer a simple single player or challenge. We've now got the country streaks, and we've also got the options to limit the game mode. So instead of artificially stopping yourself from moving, there's now an option to like fully cut that off and stuff. So I guess for you guys, with the intention to improve in mind, what would be your recommendation for a game mode to kind of stick with? Do you think country streaks is the best place to go? What do you think about moving? No moving? What's your thoughts?
At the very start, I'd reckon to move, definitely. But as soon as you've got a bit of experience, just do a no moving, because on, for example, say a diverse world, you have many great clues around. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think that like try and move around, find some clues, get a like gist of every like area of the world, and then once you start like understanding different regions, you can you know, start playing country streaks and whatever.
Okay, yeah, and I think I I've never actually played the game like properly with moving. And maybe that's put me at quite a disadvantage because I was introduced to the game from the classic no move, no pan, no zoom, 10-second Geowizard guesses, and I guess that's always appealed to me. But I think that probably slowed down on um, certain bits of information I would have picked up otherwise. So I mean, Country Streaks is now a,
Definitely.
a game mode in and of itself. I mean, have you guys played much of the Country Streaks game mode? What's your thoughts on it?
I've personally just played it a few times at the beginning, but it's a fun game mode. I mean, you can do it for yourself on normal maps as well, but yeah, it's nice to see a change in Geoguessr.
Yeah, I haven't played it like too much. I think that the locations do get slightly repetitive because they
Mm.
are like official, like picked by the GeoGuessr developers or whatever, with their own system. So um, they do get a little bit repetitive. But I think if you're trying to do country streaks as a start, like I think that would be a pretty good place to start.
Okay. And when it comes down to time limits and that sort of stuff, do you guys think that unlimited time helps? Do you think playing with like a few minutes, like what would your recommendation be if you were trying to challenge yourself but you're quite new? Is where do you think time? How do you think time impacts?
Personally, I think right at the beginning, do it without a time limit and do it with moving because it's you learn by playing it. I had no idea about road signs of the world, for example, and when I moved and saw a road sign and saw that in Google Maps, the symbols of different roads are the same as on the signs, that helps a lot, and you can start to differentiate certain languages. It gives you a good advantage, I'd say.
Hmm.
Okay. And I guess 90, you've been playing Geoguessr for quite some time. RC, I'm not quite as aware of how long you've been playing for, but how's the game developed in that time? Do you think it's kind of easier to get good at this stage, or do you think it still requires like the same level of work as it did a few years ago?
I think that it's changed a lot. Like nowadays, you see like new players who have just popped up and they're already like doing really good. And I think that has to do with like the amount of content you have available nowadays,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like provided like such as the stuff we're doing here, this podcast. So,
Mm,
you know.
well said, well said.
Definitely. But on the flip side, it's also harder for new players because, as I said, I've started playing 5 years ago, and back then that was just a limited amount of countries that were available on Google Maps.
Mm.
And nowadays, every few months, you see new countries getting added.
I actually
So
didn't even
it adds
consider
up.
that. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Actually, the map's growing in a way, and I think that actually takes us on to our next topic quite nicely, which is discussing, I think, probably one of the biggest fundamentals in GeoGuessr that I think I see a lot of new players make the mistake of is coverage, and I think every now and then you'll be doing a stream or you'll be part of a stream and you'll see somebody come on and they'll drop a guess like right in the middle of China um, and they're like, oh, why was that like Japan or Thailand instead of China? And I think that there's a barrier of that coverage knowledge, which I think is really, really important. So I think in terms of looking at the coverage, we're just going to swap over to a different screen here. There we go. So let me move my webcam out of the way. So I think for me personally, like the way I got to or have got to understand coverage better is just by looking at the map maker or the map creation tool in GeoGuessr because it gives you an idea of what you can work with.
Definitely. But keep in mind, not every new GeoGuessr player has a GeoGuessr subscription. So they'd rather have to look into the standard Google Maps because that tool you can only access when you I have a Geoguessr Pro account.
Yeah, when you've got that is correct. Yeah, when you've got a pro account, which does cost at least £250. It's I think it's about 20 quid for a pro account, which is makes me ever so happy when it doesn't work. So in terms of this coverage map, you can also find this through Google Street View. Can you, Nighty? Is that something that's easy to find?
Sorry, repeat it. I've just read the chat where people said you should turn up my volume.
Okay, you're on max volume for me through Discord.
Okay, then I'm upping my personal volume.
Yeah, if you whack yourself just up slightly, that should.
Yep, that should be better now, I think. Yeah, what did you ask? Sorry.
So I was just saying, in terms of locating the coverage, you can find that through Google Maps and look on there. Is that correct?
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
Fantastic.
You can see on Google Maps a small yellow guy that you can click on, and immediately you have the whole coverage, what is covered by Street View.
Interesting. Right. Well, that's good to know. And I think so. I think the key point here is what you see a lot of new players who come to the game is they assume that, which is quite sweet really, because I did the exact same thing. But they assume that the entire globe has had a Google car drive over it. And I think that makes guessing within Geoguessr a bit more magical than it actually is. It does break the spell a little bit when you understand that there are large parts of the Earth that aren't covered. As you know, there's rightly been claimed that these are getting covered when they can be. But I think Africa, it's a great continent to take for example. Huge place with varying different landscapes and architecture and all the kind of relevant stuff that you would factor into your guess, but you're not actually guessing in Africa as a continent. You're guessing between Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, Uganda, Kenya, South Africa, and Botswana. When you're doing like the standard kind of coverage, so it doesn't make guessing easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it does kind of narrow it down a little bit, and we'll kind of look into that a little bit later. So one thing I'd say for new players, certainly it helps me out a lot, is even if you know the country's Australia, well, where are you going to click in Australia? Don't bother clicking over here because you're not going to get any points for it, right? Oh, and yeah, as somebody's rightly pointed out, yes, Eswatini and Lesotho are also covered in South Africa. Thank you for that. Yeah. So I think that kind of just goes over coverage. Not a huge topic, I think, with too much detail in, other than take a look at it, understand, what's covered, and what has more coverage as well. If some places have got.
But
Oh.
Sorry to interrupt you, but if you play hand-picked maps that users created, be aware that it's just based on the official Google coverage. People can take pictures, we call them photospheres, and they can appear in every single country of the world.
True. So to sum that up then, if I said if you're on top of a Google car, that's the official coverage. But then if you're from a camera, like somebody using a 360 camera, or somebody taking like a photosphere or panorama, that type of thing, that's unofficial coverage?
Yes.
Yeah, and you should be able to check at the bottom, on the bottom right of the map. It should say, if it wasn't an official coverage, then it will say the name of the person who made it, or the company, and otherwise it should just say 2020 Google, I think.
Solid. Because I think we had was a guest on my stream the other day that was Bhutan, and apparently it did say yeah. So classic example of it. It kind of tells you the place on the coverage itself. But then if you're like me, I clicked somewhere 3,000 miles away. So we're not all brilliant at looking at that kind of stuff. So moving on. So another thing related to not the areas that you're guessing in, but very much Google and kind of the Street View system itself. Something that very much falls under the category of what we like to call meta. is the camera quality. There are 4 different types of camera quality, and some are better than others, you might say. So when people reference, you might have seen in chat, people referencing Gen, and they'll say, oh, that's Gen 1, or that's Gen 2. That just means the camera generation of the, the camera they've glued on top of the Google card. So let's just take a quick look at what that looks like. So first and foremost, you've got the lovely Generation 1. This is taken from North Dakota, I can see. As you see, very pixelated, very blown out. The contrast is kind of all over the place.
And even if you have a road sign in front of your face, you can't read it properly.
Yeah, even with the answer on a sign, it's not going to help you. So, I mean, in terms of Generation 1 coverage, is it? I don't feel like I see this very often. Is it something that's more rare these days?
Well, in most of good maps like a diverse world or a balanced world or improved world, they stay away from these types of locations just because of how bad they are. So you shouldn't see any in those types of maps. But then, of course, if you go on the normal world map, you're going to see this a lot more often.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that
and
makes
picked
sense.
maps are often no Generation 1.
Interesting. So if somebody's hand making a map, they'll avoid it completely. But if you're playing the official things, it's going to be something that crops up, maybe a little bit more often than the better ones. So that's Generation 1. Something that is slightly more common, I've seen more of, is Generation 2. So this is a Gen 2 camera. Again, not actually half bad. We've got a clearer picture here. I still think it can be difficult to read signs that are off in the distance a little bit, and the colours are a little bit off. But I think some of the most defining factors, and this is where I might be wrong, guys, is Generation 2 famous for the kind of halo thing? Is that exclusive to Gen 2?
It is. It is. I've never seen Generation 3 with a sky halo or Generation 4.
Okay, right, interesting. So
Cobbler can appear, but we'll get to that later. But the sky halo, it is Generation 2.
Right, okay, interesting. So what we're looking at here is this kind of halo that sits above the car. It kind of causes this shadow. Almost looks like a ridge. There's a ridge. If you know what ridge is, we'll talk about that at some point as well. But it kind of this blurry, weird element that's over the top of the car, and then obviously you've got some kind of blur around the bottom of it as well. So Gen 2 very much defined by that. And again, I think, as I said, you see it more often than Gen 1, but still a little bit of a rarity.
Yeah, I think most countries have had their Gen 2 replaced. There's like a few countries that have like just Gen 2, and so usually you can that's a helpful way to recognize those countries, but we'll go into that later.
Okay.
Definitely. And map makers aren't shy to put Generation 2 in because actually you can read signs.
Yeah. It's a massive step up, isn't it?
possibility.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So brilliant. And then obviously I think this, and I might be wrong, but this is the most common generation, which is Gen 3. Which again, huge step up, I think, in terms of clarity. You can now pick out quite clearly very, very tiny details on the floor. You can see quite clearly into the distance. We've not got that type of halo over the top. And yeah, just very clear picture. And yeah, am I right in saying this is probably the most common coverage that we see?
It is.
Brilliant. Okay. Yeah, and this is this is just pretty generic, pretty standard. And this is what you'll be used to guessing on when you play on your more standardized maps, like a diverse world, so on and so forth. And then the wonderful, gorgeous Gen 4, which is the latest Google camera generation. There isn't one above this. I don't know if they're working on one, but this is certainly the latest. And again, not quite a drastic improvement like we've seen from Gen 1 upwards, but certainly, again, slightly more improved. And I think I tend to notice this one in Austria the most. Um,
Mm-hmm.
am I right in saying is Austria all Gen 4 or is it a mixture? What?
It's not all Gen 4. The Western states, the westernmost half, I reckon to say, as also Gen 3 because the pictures were taken a few years before,
Okay,
but the eastern half has newer pictures.
right, got you. That makes sense. So yeah, I think in Austria you notice it because I think a lot of the coverage is occurred on quite a sunny, nice day, and it looks very it looks very
Yeah,
nice.
they drove in summer.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's definitely a pretty place. I think I often go, oh, this is nice. Is it Austria? So that's the generation of cameras there. Now the question is how do you know what places have what generation of camera being used in them and what rate of use in them, so on and so forth. And this is a harder question to answer because it's actually quite varied and quite complicated. There are resources.
Mostly it's based on experience. Play,
They
play, play.
Yeah, and that's exactly what a lot of this is. It's about learning and about kind of taking on board that information. But there are resources that people have put together for this kind of stuff. Here, for example, is a Google Doc that exists that helps break down the generation of cameras, what the coverage is like if they've got all of them, if they've got one of them, if they've got more of the others, so on and so forth. And these kind of resources exist. We'll be happy to host these within the Discord. They're shared across all different types of platforms. Nothing that we've come up with. So you can find this information all over the shop. We'll be talking about where to find information for Geoguessr tips and tricks later on. But this is one way you can help learn them. But I guess one of the big ways is simply just playing the game and getting an idea of, oh, this is a lower quality camera. Judging by what I can see on the screen, and that is probably going to be in that area. Yeah, a lock I believe runs this. Am I getting the name right? I always get mocked for saying a lot.
Yeah, Alloc, I think.
Yeah, there we go.
Alloc, I always say alloc.
Yeah, a lot. So yeah, and then there's also this is where the description of the generations comes from. That's where I got it. Um, there's other resources in here like the cars map and that sort of stuff as well. So that's essentially the generation of cameras, right? So if you see people talking about, oh, it was this and gen this, they're factoring in that aspect of the meta into their guess because it can help you point in a direction. But as you say, that's ever changing. I think there's one element of that we didn't cover, which is you can have non-official car coverage, right? You can people do tie cameras onto the top of their cars and go driving about, and what that's called ARI. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, it's an ongoing meme in the Geoguessr community because the first guy who did this was from Finland and his name was Ari Immonen.
Right.
He basically ruined all of Finland because of that.
Well, there you go. So somebody says ARI, then there's the story behind that one. Then, so I guess the next thing to move on to again Google cars. So this is something we're just going to kind of briefly cover. We're not going to go into detail about where the Google cars may or may not be and what countries they're tied to, because there's a wide variance of different types of cars that are used, and we'll cover those when we actually get to talking about the specific countries in future episodes. But again, fantastic resource from a lot here. Ooh, wrong camera. Here we're looking at a map of where we see. This is what we're looking at, a map of where we see different car coverage. And as you can see, plenty of different cars, white, black, red, bars, trekkers, different mixtures of cars in some sort of areas. And this can really help you determine where you are in the world. So looking at the car, it should be always part of you factoring in a guess. I think the classic example of this is always going to be the Ghana meme. So if you go onto coverage in Ghana, what you'll see is the wonderful black tape meme. So we have a Google car that's got a rack on the top, or bars, which they're most commonly referred to as, and specifically the bars in Ghana have a little bit of black tape tied around them. So you see a car with bars on it, you look for the tape, and then suddenly you know where you are. Doesn't give you the exact location, obviously. You still got to make a guess based on that information, but it helps narrow it down significantly. So looking at the cars and learning what cars are where, or what type of cars you might be able to get in an area is a really, really good way of narrowing down the potential amount of countries you might be guessing for those more ambiguous guesses. If somewhere it's not too information rich, the car can really help narrow that down. Have you guys got anything to share about cars? I think cars are pretty straightforward, right, aren't they?
Yeah, I think just try and just memorize like which ones are which, or like yeah, and eventually you'll start like understanding which one's which, and it just becomes something that you get used to, and like it's like just a part of like what you check when you're like looking around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mongolia is the second most famous example, I'd say.
Yeah. We're going to have a look at Mongolia, I guess, later on, actually. I've prepared a little video to go through. So, yeah, that's one of the things to factor in, which is the Google cars. A lot of people do mention, I find it funny that you're able to guess the location based on the Google car. Once you've learned a couple of these things, it really just comes as second nature. It will just trigger the country in your head immediately after playing for a little bit.
I don't know why it shouldn't be a valid clue.
Classic meme there. So so the next topic then is something a fairly important star that kind of gives us all life on Earth, but actually for more important purpose of said star is helping us guess on this browser-based geography game, which is the sun. So the sun is kind of this for smooth brain people like myself, the sun's always been a little bit of a meme, and I still to this day forget to factor it in when I'm making guesses. So my understanding is that it helps you guess the hemisphere of that you're in, whether that's the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, and the way you base it is the opposite of whichever's which, right? So if the sun is pointing in the north, you're likely in the southern hemisphere. Is that a fair description?
Yeah.
But there are exceptions in between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn. Where
Yeah,
the sun can be on both directions.
Yeah, as you get closer to the equator, it's a little more difficult to tell and sometimes can't be as useful, but normally, yeah, you can use it.
Okay. So I think I'm just going to see if we can get an example of, and this is what perfect. We've got a perfect example. So I'm just going to share my screen in Discord, boys, so you can see what I'm seeing without any of the stream lag. Let me know when you can see it.
Good point, Tubi. When the sun is setting or rising, it can appear directly to the east or west, even far north or far south.
Okay, interesting. Good point there. So, yeah, the sun is, I guess, it's effective at helping you guess in locations, but you wouldn't say it's like 100% reliable. It's not like a free location giver. It kind of helps direct you somewhat reliably, depending how close you are to the equator, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. So I've just loaded up a diverse world. We've got a kind of a perfect sun example right here. So what's in your mind? What's the best way to like use the sun? Is there a particular trick that you can use to position? I understand that.
Always position it directly in the middle of the screen.
Okay.
Not left or right, directly in the middle.
So lining up in the middle.
Now,
yeah.
The compass slightly tilts towards the south. South is above, so it should be northern hemisphere.
Okay. Zooming doesn't really make a difference, so that's not something you have
Not
to
at all.
consider. Okay.
Even zooming out is way better because then you can more precisely direct it towards the middle of the screen.
Right. Interesting. Okay. And for example, let's say we're doing a no move, no pan, no zoom type round. What's the best way to try and factor in the sun in this kind of case?
You can try and use the shadows here. So as you can see, the shadows are sort of pointing to the north. So then that means the sun has to be towards the south, as you
Right.
can see with the car here.
Okay, interesting. Shadows. So I see people mention shadows a lot. And it just never comes into my mind that you could use that as a guess. So shadows, the sun is always going to be there as a clue, even when you can't center it up in the screen. So the shadows, I guess, are going to be your go-to. If it's something
In which direction the shadows point in that hemisphere you are. It's
brilliant,
Yeah.
the opposite of the sun.
wonderful, right? And then I guess if let's say you get a seed that's like particularly overcast or the sun is hard to locate, is it still something you think, let's say you've got a 30-second time limit on there, is it something you would still go to try and work out, or is it you'd spend the time looking for other clues potentially?
I personally would try it because sometimes you can see a lighter part of the sky coming through the clouds, and that's where the sun normally is located. It can be misleading, no question, but it also can be helpful sometimes, even when it's overcast.
Yeah, I'd say if you have like no other clues about where you are, you have no idea, sure, go for it. It might help you.
Okay, sweet. So I mean that is the sun kind of covered there. I guess one of the other things then is, I mean, a pretty basic. Well, I don't think we need to talk too much about this one, but driving side is another huge factor that you should be kind of considering when making your guess, because again, just like having the Google cars memorized, if you memorize the driving side, you kind of automatically shut off a load of countries. So if you're driving on a left, bang, 1,000,001 countries just disappear out of your mind as to where it could be. One place I like to go to check driving side is geotips.net. They've got a wonderful map that comes up um, when you like load up the website, and that helps show you where the driving side is. So I believe blue is right-hand driving, red is left-hand driving, and then purple is a trekker, which is that's somebody who's not in a car. Am I right in saying that? A trek?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, not many people drive on the right side of the road, as in the left is the right.
Nah, that map isn't completed yet. It's just from the countries that are on geotips now.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, that's so. These are the countries that are covered at the moment. You can just find this information pretty much where all over the internet. There's plenty of different maps that cover it because it's quite an interesting
And
topic.
as a proper rule of thumb, you can say countries that were once colonized by the Brits drive on the left side.
Yeah, yeah. We, as some may say, taught them how to drive on the right side of the road. Controversial topic, but yeah, yeah. So left and right, immediately kind of getting that understanding out of the way, you're going to go right. Well, this is where we are, and I think especially in something like Southeast Asia, where you've got a little bit of a mixture going on, that can be incredibly helpful amongst other clues. So definitely, just like your Google cars, get your driving sides learned. That's going to help you cut down on the guessing, because I think what you've got to consider, if you're playing a 30-second no move, but you can pan, you can zoom, you've got a limited amount of time to make your guess. And the more time you can spend on finding the area on the map specifically, or reading a sign, or looking at something that's going to pinpoint you to the exact location, the better. So if you can just wipe out straight off the bat the country that you think it's going to be in by using meta, by using driving side, by looking at the sun, that sort of stuff, the more time you've got to make a better guess and kind of get up those vital points that separate people who get, say, 15,000 in a round to people who can get 23,000 around. You know, using those bits of time, getting all that information in is vital.
And for extreme beginners, I think it should also be told that even if you don't see any cars when you do a no move round, for example, road signs are always facing the car. If you see a road sign facing you on the right side, you're driving on the right side.
There you go. This is something we fall out about when I do GeoPainter, which is a game mode where I draw what I see on the screen on paint, and then I draw the sign on the wrong side of the road, and then everyone shouts at me and says that I got it wrong and that I should, you know, stop living. In other words, so sign placement, that kind of stuff is going to help dictate the side of the road you're driving on if it's not immediately clear from the Google car or the cars around you. So I think the last thing is, I mean, ultimately something I really have little to no knowledge about, which is, I guess, using, oh god, sorry, I've not muted my face, but there we go. So something I'm really bad at is the actual using the compass and the map, and this is something that I understand some really good players use it, and I think there's players out there who are trying to learn to use it. I think Granis is really trying to get a bit better at using the compass and the map, and I wish him the best of luck with it. But it's something I definitely need to get better at in terms of my guessing. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to reshare my screen in Discord again, guys, and I want you to just talk me through how you can use the map, the details on the map itself, and the compass to make better guesses.
Well, it would also be pretty helpful if you've used a normal physical map beforehand.
What are those again? Sorry, a physical map. I'm not aware of what that is.
The predecessor of Google Maps.
No, there was something before Google Maps. I don't believe it. So I think we had something in. We call it. I don't know what it's called outside of it, but we have something in the UK called. Well, I say UK. It's just an English word for it. Orienteering. Is that right? Is that using a map? Or is that, I don't quite know.
Pretty much like that.
Okay, right.
Orientation runs in school.
Yeah. And I was shocking at that. So so this is maybe where I need to turn my life around a bit. So let me move my fat ad out of the way a little bit and put it up here. So right, we've got a guess here. We've got a nice little we've got a fair bit of information here, bits of cards and stuff like this. So in terms of using the compass and the map, talk me through it. You're about to make your guess. I mean, first and foremost, what country do we think we're in?
It's Italy.
It's Italy.
Yeah, Italy.
Okay, so we're gonna make a guess in Italy. I mean, I could have made a suggestion myself, but then I would have looked like a fool when I said Finland or some dumb shit. So we're about to make a guess in Italy. I guess without focusing too much about where we would guess in Italy because of what we can see on the screen, what sort of things and considerations should you make about the map itself and actually putting down your guess? What would you say?
Well, first of all, this road doesn't look like a very big road, so I would say it's probably not one of the major highways, and you can tell which ones are major highways by looking at like the yellow ones, and the green numbered ones are like the big ones with like many lanes, and then the yellow ones are like the regional highways. I think this might be a regional highway, or it's one of those just normal white roads on the map.
Just a provincial street or something like that.
Okay, so the white roads are kind of your standard kind of back roads, as you said, and then your yellow roads are going to be your more substantial roads, obviously based on what you can see.
In general, yes.
In general, yes. Okay.
Can be exceptions, but in general, that's true.
Now, am I right in saying that the other things that you see are so? What does a dotted line mean? Is that a railroad, or is that
Which dotted line you mean?
Which? It's me thinking there's one.
That is a province border.
Oh, that's a border. Okay. Right, so there's borders as a province border. Okay, so a province border is a border of a province, I'm imagining. So that's one type of dotted line. Is a railroad, is that also a dotted line?
No, that's just a straight gray line.
A straight grey
Mm.
line. Okay, I don't think I'll be able to find an example of that. And then I understand that the blue stuff is typically water.
Yes.
Yeah, and then so what does green mean on the map? Does that mean forested area?
For the most part, yeah. It's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
weird. It's not always something you should use.
yeah.
Some of the
Sometimes
green
it's just a
areas,
national park or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
Okay, interesting. And then you've got I don't know how you describe it, but like the kind of the shading and the ridges and stuff that's indicating height, right? So we're looking at hills and mountains, and you see that,
Exactly.
yeah.
yeah.
And then obviously you've got the more standard stuff, which is look, here's a railroad. Yeah, so just like it's like a grey, it's like a grey line with a kind of a slightly greyer border on it. There we go. Yeah, we found one. All right. So yeah, you've got that as a railroad. So if you see a railroad, that's gonna help you direct to there. And then you've got your road names and obviously place names and stuff like that. So you can match up, say, a business or a signpost or something like that pretty simply. So I mean this is where I have zero knowledge. So excuse stupid questions, but what's this idea of angling and making kind of crazy guesses based on that sort of stuff? Am I even using the right terminology here?
Yeah, well, if you have like here a place name sign, you're entering a town, as you can see. And yeah, on the right side after the bridge.
Oh yeah, there you are. Yeah. So
Mm. And if you find that town on the map, and as you can see, you're driving pretty much towards the northeast. If you find the town and you're going into the town from the southwest, you can
Yeah,
make an educated guess.
right,
and then also you have the river going pretty much north south over here, and so you can factor that in. Maybe if you're trying to look for a specific river that like, and you're not sure which one, if you look north south rivers, that could help you as well.
brilliant. Okay, well that makes sense. I think how difficult or easy do you think this is to put into practice? Um, is this where would you rate this? Is this more can a beginner pick this up quite easily, like, or is it something that's a little bit more advanced?
In between beginner and advanced, I'd say. We have many
Yeah.
tools for Italy, like the language or the license plate of the car. But in
This
terms of,
is
yeah,
this is when you're like already trying to like pinpoint, so maybe you're doing like timed rounds or something. So, you know,
mm. And in terms of more advanced level, it's going deeper into landscape and vegetation, for example.
Okay,
So, in my experience, I can say this is nowhere in the south of Italy because how lush it looks like.
right, interesting.
yeah.
Okay. Um, I'm just gonna drop a guess now. See, okay, yeah. So it was, as you said, more northern, um, and then obviously we got the town name and stuff like that. You could have factored in, which makes sense. I just want to shout out before we move on to our next section. We have got some happy customers from, I think, new people new to the game. Granis here, one of the new players, says, "Hi there, my name is Granis. I'm brand new to Geoguessr, and I just wanted to say I think it's recognizing the Google cards layout is hilarious and impressive. I don't see a reason why it would not be a valid clue. Thanks and good luck with your streaming career." Thank you, Granis. Appreciate that. I hope you can learn something from the podcast. Honestly, really
Grannies were the
interesting.
best.
Yeah, I think you're going to get better and better just by listening to these two guys. And hopefully I can teach you something as well. I think obviously I've been playing for a little bit longer than you have, and probably can impart some knowledge to you, mate, as well. So make sure you're listening, get a good night's sleep, and yeah, we'll take it on board. So Well, I mean, that is covering pretty much all the kind of areas in that section. I think these are like the core tenets of making a really, really good and strong guess, and kind of the foundations you need as a player to go from a kind of a shit player to a decent player. But then I think somebody like me who is kind of has some knowledge but doesn't factor in some of the other things, it's something I can definitely improve on to get better, and maybe move myself up into A tier from B tier where I'm at currently. So let's move on to the next section. So I've prepared a little video that I think demonstrates a couple of the points that we've just been speaking about. So I'm just going to load it up. So some of you may know, you may have heard the name Geowizard before in your lifetime. It's somebody who introduced me to Geoguessr. The YouTube algorithm picked up on that and kind of showed me a 10-second no pan no zoom video, and I was kind of blown away. And that's what kind of introduced me to
I think he's
Geoguessr.
an average Geoguessr player, as far as I know.
Not everyone. Not everyone on board the Tommy D train, but what I will say is the reason why I picked Geowizard is not anything to do with his level of skill, but simply because he gets the most kind of he's the most well-known Geoguessr player as far as I'm aware. He's
definitely.
Yeah, he gets millions of views on YouTube. He exposes tons and tons of people to the game, and I think something we find quite interesting is people's impression of his guesses that he makes in videos. And a lot of people who kind of watch Geoguessr, but a lot of people that watch Geowizard don't actually play Geoguessr. And I think that results in some interesting kind of comments and stuff that get made on videos. And I think it's a good example to kind of show that with a little bit of knowledge in Geoguessr, it can take you quite far. So, I've got a video here. It should load up in just a sec. There we go. So I'm just going to play through these. I'll take my camera off for a second, and then we'll just talk about why they're not maybe quite as insane as some people may think about. So here we go.
Sun is in the south, Mongolia or Kyrgyzstan.
So to start with here, he doesn't actually get the right place, but he does name the place where it will actually be. And the reason why I wanted to bring this guess up is on the basis that there was, I think, a comment about there was a comment saying something like, a shed in a desert, and Geowizard knows exactly where it is. How could he possibly know that? And that has 20,000 upvotes. I think that's quite sweet in a way, but actually this is like a lukewarm guess at best. And the reason for that is literally we can use two of the things that we've discussed tonight without even factoring in anything you can see on the screen, right? So, as we know, well, when we look at coverage, we know that Mongolia and Kyrgyzstan are only countries in this kind of region that have this coverage. So immediately, it's going to be one or the other. You're not selecting between 3 or 4, 5 or 6 different countries. There's 2 to choose from. And then the second, whether or not Tommy D knows about it, but there's a shadow of the camera rig on the ground as well, which kind of determines
And
that.
you see one side of a bar, and in Mongolia you have the whole rack around the top of the car.
There you go. Yeah.
As well as the landscape, the snowy mountains.
Yeah, and it's pretty much as straightforward as that, in the sense that you don't actually require this incredible geography knowledge all of the time to get some guesses. In certain areas you do require that, but there's a lot of these insane guesses that certainly do get written off as incredible knowledge, when in fact actually it does come down to some Google guessing. So that's one of them. I think I've got 3 examples here. So here's another one. So how is he able to guess this location in 10 seconds without moving?
Ooh.
This is something
Switzerland here. Let's have an insane guess.
average players
How about
probably
that?
won't pick up on.
We're just south of a lake.
Actually,
So what's
There's
it
two
going to be?
countries
Oh,
in the
But
game
there's
with,
two clues, two huge clues for that.
Yeah.
Not for that, but there's language on top of all.
yeah, so obviously language, we've got what looks like German there, and the second thing is that our car is actually lower than normal. It might be a little bit difficult for players who are just starting out to notice, but it's closer to the ground because of privacy laws or whatever. And this happens only in Switzerland and Japan. And obviously, Japan doesn't have German language or shouldn't have German language, so it had to be Switzerland.
Yeah, nail on the head there. Yeah, so by identifying, quite obviously, we're looking at Europe. Kind of looks like Europe, some European language there, and the camera's lower down.
And also from what we have talked earlier, this is generation 3,
Mm.
and German. That excludes Germany and Eastern Austria, so it can only be Western Austria or Switzerland because of the coverage.
Yeah, 100%. So when you've played the game for a little bit, these kind of factors are really easy to pick up on. And as you can see, Tom notices it immediately, says, let's make an insane guess, because he knows the only place to go to in Europe is going to be Switzerland based on these factors. And then he uses the rest of his 10 seconds to look for, say, a lake and some other bits of information like that. So he's making a better guess based on, he's like saving time by recognizing the country based off of the kind of generic details and the car camera level height, and then using the rest of the time to make a better guess. So that's how you can get a really good guess there. And again, just one more example at the end here.
United Arab Emirates. Near Dubai, I would say. Come on. Wow, nice. 18 miles. I can't really tell UAE apart from some of the other Arabic countries sometimes, but I did there.
I mean, he did there. He's right. He did guess that location. I mean, again, when you look at the coverage in this area, you've got the UAE, you've got Israel and Jordan, and that's pretty much it. So you're not picking between a vast majority of places. Obviously, using a bit of the information here, new motorway, big motorway, desert. I think it's quite easy to make a guess
Pretty
there.
modern-looking street lamps.
Yeah, it
And
looks
the
like there
more
might
modern it
be.
looks, the more UAE it is.
Yeah, and I think,
Yeah,
and again, you wouldn't guess Qatar, you wouldn't guess Bahrain, which might have potentially similar looking type things, because the coverage isn't there, and that's kind of makes it a far easier guess. Actually, we might have a little bit of a problem, guys. Somebody in the chat, Leota, I think is their name, says, "Hello there, Sunken City. I'm Tom Davies, aka Geowizard's attorney. I'm writing to inform that regarding a cease and desist filed about your use of Geowizard videos for a Geoguessr podcast. Please cease using the video immediately and send a video apology." I didn't realize shit.
I think that's not a real attorney. That says
Are you
what he
sure?
wrote is unconstitutional.
I'm sorry, my heart's going. I thought we'd been caught. I thought we'd been caught.
No. I think because you're not using any copyrighted music, you should be okay.
Oh, the music, right?
Geowizard is not a company.
Well, who knows? I think I'm getting worried. He might walk in a straight line over to my house and, do something to me. So with that, we'll put that to a rest just in case. No,
No one swatting you.
No, I will say shout out to Geowizard. He's a lot of people watch him. He does really good streams. I still watch his content. I think it's really good. Maybe if you're like super into Geoguessr, he's not your cup of tea, but I really like him. Is this helping?
To be honest, his videos are very good to fall asleep. For me personally.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Just Nighty throwing a little bit of shade.
Yeah, a little tiny bit of shade there. But I mean, that would, we're talking about somebody who's quite good at Geoguessr, Nighty, versus the best player in the world who's travelled to every inch of the country, in every continent of the world. So yeah, I maybe a tinge of jealousy there, Nighty, if we're being honest. So one thing I do want to show. So that's that's a video that I think we can go ahead and explain why maybe not quite as exciting or crazy as it might appear if you don't know much about Geoguessr. But there is a video that I think deserves a bit of recognition. I know a lot of you already know this, that I'm aware of. But when I was first shown this video, I was completely and utterly blown away by it. Right, it kind of fucked with my head. It was that good. And this is SubSymmetry's 50 countries in a row speedrun, and I think this is showing you, if you apply obviously those fundamentals with an incredible knowledge of what you're looking at and where you are in the world, you can get as good potentially as SubSymmetry. I mean, this is a video that blows my mind. As two people who are really good at the game, what are your thoughts on this kind of iconic speedrun?
Yeah, some of these are doable for me, but then some of them are kind of a little bit out there. Like I
Some
probably
are
would
very
need a little bit
straightforward,
more
yeah.
time. Yeah.
But SubSymmetry is definitely better than both of us, or all three of us. But
Well, sorry, did you say better than
yeah,
me?
he's better than all of us. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well,
Especially
I'll
in
trust you,
immediately
90.
recognizing the countries. I might recognize the countries as well, all of them, but I just need my time. I need to look around.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the speed is what is quite so mind blowing about this. But I think it goes to show that there's like clearly a very specific thought process that you can build into your game that helps you guess extremely well and very quickly the country you're in, and then you can use the rest of that time to make up for where you're actually guessing in a specific location. I think that's what's identifying a country is one thing, but where you kind of pick up points in challenges, and when you're doing like, you're doing some of the Geoguessr challenges that are out there, maybe you're participating in a tournament, maybe you're watching a Twitch stream that has a chat guesser going or a challenge going, being able to identify the country very quickly is going to help you spend more time guessing where you think you actually are in the country.
Definitely. And that's what I like to do with especially 20 seconds or more time in a game, recognizing the country and then getting a good score in the country, just based on landscape, based on everything around it. That's my forte.
Somebody's pointed out in the chat is that he didn't say he was going to make an insane guess for any of these guesses, which I think is probably a failure of subbing there, really. It should be, I'm about to make an insane guess. I'm about to make an insane guess. That should have been throughout the entire video, so we knew that an insane guess was about to be made. I mean, just a little bit of feedback there. Thank you for that, Ben. That feedback is, we'll pass that on. But yeah, shout out to SubSymmetry, incredible player. If you're not subscribed to YouTube already, I'd certainly recommend going over there. New videos still coming out 3 days ago. A new video as well, so plenty to check out over there. So I think we're kind of we're moving on. We've reviewed the video, very exciting, very informative. I'll keep a lookout for the letter in the post from Tom. So I think I want to shout out here the resources that already exist. So there's no, I want to make it very clear that there's absolutely no way I could put together anything like this without the assistance of these two, obviously, but also the community out there that already exists that have put together a lot of this information. It's incredible, the support out there, the different Google Docs, the websites, the communities that you can get involved in to get better at the game. And by all means, we're just trying to filter some of that information over to you that you might not have seen before. But in the meantime, I'd certainly recommend checking out these kind of places. The Reddit, which is r/Geoguessr. Now, you two, I believe, I know 90 you are. RC, is the Reddit somewhere you go often, or what's going on there?
Yeah, I sometimes do. There's like the Reddit League and some challenges in there that I participate in.
Same as me, yeah.
I definitely look at the
But the
memes over
the,
there.
the Reddit page is a great source as well for more information because there are a lot of posts. Or I think you did it, Radov, if I remember correctly, a small South America guide.
Yeah, people
And
can just
yeah,
put a question in the Reddit, just like, how do I differentiate certain countries in Asia or South America? And then people who are better at those regions can go and answer.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, there's varied content on there. I know there's a lot of competitions and stuff coming out of the subreddit these days, which I think is really really sick.
yeah,
It's
and also Reddit is a great source for non-pro Geoguessr players who don't have a pro account to just play normal maps that users have created and not stick to the world map,
yeah, 100%.
which you can play for free.
Yeah, would recommend going over there. I personally go over there and only ever look at the like, here's a dead cat I found in Bolivia type post. But you know, there's that as well. You know, there's all sorts over there. It is Reddit at the end of the day, so you know, great community, great source of people, and there's people who go to that subreddit who you wouldn't normally bump into necessarily in other kind of resources. Like you know, not everyone's comes to Twitch streams, so on and so forth. The other one is geotips.net. This is a website. I mean, completely dedicated to exactly what the name says. It's tips for GeoGuessr. Fantastic kind of interactive map on there. I believe they host the world records on there as well. You know, guys, what give us some more information about GeoTips.
Yeah, so both me and Nighty are editors on Geotips now. And so we're working on finishing up all the countries. So you know, once we finish all of them, which shouldn't be too soon, then we'll have every country there, so people can go and see in depth how to learn every country,
Yeah,
and
which will
also
take a while.
yeah, yeah, it does take a while, but we're getting there. And yeah, the world records page where you'll see a lot of people from the community, especially who have gotten pretty insane scores or whatever, or streaks, and we've compiled a list of the best scores that we know of.
Yeah, and for us editors, it will take a pretty long time to finish all the countries because we get some world record submissions multiple times a day, and we have to watch all of those to edit.
Yeah, not an easy task, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
No time for adding new countries apparently for now, but I think that's just a short intermezzo.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful to see the names on here. I think you bump into these people across Twitch and Discord and Reddit, and then you kind of see, oh shit, you know who is it's RC. I actually I
I
think
see myself over there,
that's an unknown. I think, but you know people. As we say, we've spoken about Sub is on there and all sorts, and some plenty of players that come and go who are just kind of do insane things, and you can really catch up with how good people are. And I think these are also good as a benchmark. It's like, oh, I'm quite good at GeoGuessr now. Well, how close can you get to these people's scores? I think, oh, is that a no move country streaks Geowizard? Well done. I think well done. So he is one of the best players in the world. But oh no, Simraj did beat him 44-28. Oh, that's unfortunate. So yeah, that's another resource to check out there. So I think the Discord, this is something I've not been massively involved in. I've known about it in more recent times. I think is this something you guys have been a part of long, or where does the Discord sit?
Yeah, I joined the Discord a while ago. I think Nighty joined a little later, but yeah, the GeoGuessr Pro Community Discord, that's like basically linked with the GeoTips page. So if anyone
Exactly.
wants to, yeah, if anyone wants to ask questions or submit records, that's the place to go to. And of course, there's the r/Geoguessr Discord, which you can access from the Reddit page. So, yeah.
Yeah, and especially because GeoTips is so tied with the Geoguessr Discord Pro community, which is basically the GeoTips community. If someone has some records and wants to submit it, just post it in the Discord. We only accept the Discord postings.
There you go, sweet.
Yeah.
And I think the last resource. So this is one I think this is where I've learned a lot about the community, and I found out which is Twitch streaming. So I mean I'm a streamer myself. I came into Geoguessr and started streaming it, and that's kind of my exposure to it. But what I've found is actually there's a wealth of different Geoguessr streamers who are offering different types of content. Some people going like super tryhard, going for world records, other people offering challenges and more of a casual approach. But it's definitely a place to go and learn to play the game, because not only are you getting challenges on maps that you might not have access to if you don't have a pro account, but you're also getting an understanding of where you're coming against other people. So when the challenge finishes up and they look over the scores, where are you on the leaderboard? And you'll see somebody, you're in a game, you see 90 gets 23,000, you got 8,000, and you were so sure of a certain guess and you didn't know what separated his guess from yours.
Just ask along.
Yeah, he's in the chat. People are discussing why they went in certain places. People are discussing the bits they're seeing and how they beat each other, and you can just pick up information as you go along. And I think, just from streaming myself, that's why I've gone from, a very basic player to, the community recognizes me at least one of the best people at the game really now, just from using that information. So very effective source of info there. So that's just
and
some of
on
the...
Twitch you have such a variety of streamers. You have casual players that just move, are looking for 25k scores.
Yeah.
You have no backseat gamers. You have country street gamers, challenges, battle royales, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Or there's just a huge variety of stuff, and there's really competitive streams, there's really casual streams, there's something for everyone. And you'll gel better with some streamers than others, and you'll kind of get a feel for their community and what they're good at. And also, there's something that this community loves to do, I've noticed, and maybe you'll turn into one of these people if you get good enough, is you can go into a casual person's stream and just fucking blow their mind when you get all the countries right, and they'll sit back and go, sorry, what how do you know that? So that's definitely another part of it. So I think that wraps up the kind of the core fundamentals of what you need to know to become, or to kind of start your journey to becoming a better Geoguessr player. And I think we've kind of covered some of the resources that if you want to do a bit of extra learning, some homework, go check out those resources that we listed. They're absolutely amazing. There's so much out there. Obviously, the podcast is going to continue on. We're going to be covering South America next episode, so we'll do a bit of a deep dive on that, and you guys can help learn from that. But in the meantime, there's plenty of resources out there to look at. So we want to round off the stream with some chat guesser. So we're going to make this a little bit interactive.
Sure. But, make it maybe a 5-minute break.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I have to go AFK for a bit.
Yeah, that's no worries, mate. We'll let us know when you're back, and we'll do. I was going to do a couple of rounds, and we'll go through with RC to start back, and then Nighty will rejoin us after he's.
Perfect. Then see you in a bit.
Yeah. All right. See you in a bit, Nighty. So.
All right.
What would you want to do? The aim of this bit of the 5-minute break, like in school. Yeah, he's going to the toilet. I'm going to keep an eye out on the clock. If he's not back in time, I'm going to have to go looking for him. He might get a detention. So I nearly said a smacked bottom then, but that's quite creepy. So what we want to do for this portion of the stream is kind of. We've got this opportunity where we've got some really, really good players hosting the podcast with me. RC is here at the moment, and on it, use and abuse this and get an idea of what their thought process is when making a guess. And obviously, because it's Chatguessr, you guys can join in alongside, see how you do, and try and implement some of the knowledge that you might have learned tonight. So we're going to play a pretty standard affair, which is diverse world. We're going to do no moving with unlimited time to allow us to kind of talk about why we're making the guess and what kind of things we notice. So, RC, you got my screen share okay in Discord? You can see the Chatguessr. That's brilliant.
Yeah, all good.
Okay, fantastic. So I guess what I think I'm going to ask questions to yourself, kind of if I've got any questions, but certainly direct me, tell me where to put the camera, and talk me through how you'd approach this kind of guess. So I'm just going to let this load up on the stream because it's taking a little while.
Do you want the people in chat to guess first, and then we'll talk about it, or?
They can. Well, what I tell you, we'll do a 30-second grace period for the people who want to make a guess without any of the information being said. But my goal with this is really to get an understanding of why you're guessing and stuff, not necessarily to run like a legitimate Chatguessr competition type thing. So I guess I'll move around, gives you some time to think about some of the information. I'll try and think about some of the stuff I might notice, and then when I get that information, so factoring in, what did we say straight away? Google car, a very big clue.
Yeah.
So we're gonna look down there. We've got some text, some writing over here. Got a car over there. Got some poles. Water tank. There's a lovely, wonderful tree. Destiny nightclub. I mean, who hasn't been there? Let's be honest. I got some phone numbers and some information on this sign. Don't know what that means, but it's there. Yeah. So I think, and then obviously if we were trying to factor the sun in, well, it seems like the sun's coming through the tree potentially. Well, I guess there it is. And then we'd line that up in the center of the screw. Or that's it's probably here-ish, right? And then that's going to give you like a rough estimate of the compass location. So I think a lot of people have made a guess already. So we've had 18 guesses so far. So RC, talk me through. This loads up. You've got 30 seconds to guess. Talk me through your process of making a guess here. What would be your first thing to do?
Right. So biggest thing, obviously, is the car down below. So we have the white car in the front, and then the bars that are connected together. That little black thing, I don't really know what it is, but yeah, that's typical for the Dominican Republic.
Okay.
So you'll see that in every single Dominican Republic location. And so once you go into the Dominican Republic,
so let's load that up, which is here, yeah.
The thing is, the Dominican Republic only has coverage in 2 cities, so Santo Domingo and Santiago de los Caballeros. So that already makes it so much easier to guess, and that really kind of can be like, wow, how did you know that it was exactly this city? Well, it could only be one of 2 cities.
Okay.
And so, don't really have any clues here, but I would say based off of the lack of mountains, and it's like just slightly hilly, I would go just north of Santo Domingo.
Okay, so just north, and then we'll say, so probably in 30 seconds, you probably not got a chance to look for like a business name or something. But let's say you were being very, very quick, or you had a more amount of time. I guess potentially these kind of businesses would be listed here. And the Destiny nightclub, maybe that's listed. So these could be things that you could look for if you're going to go for like a 25k.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And then also that road to the east is a pretty big road from the looks of it, so you could maybe try and use that. So you see you have a big north-south road.
Yeah.
Use the angle of that road, and then obviously we're just slightly to the west of it. So, you know, if you're trying to pinpoint it, then you could use that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That kind of makes sense. So I'm just going to drop a guess. It certainly could be better, but we're just kind of working with what we've got at the moment. So we got that within 6 miles. So yeah, 100% obviously we were in the right location. We used the car as kind of the set point to get us off there, and obviously some of the other information there to help kind of drive the location. The coverage came into play there, and then obviously the angles that you were talking about also factored in a little bit there as well. That could have helped you get a potential 25k there. So we can see that plenty of people entered. Simraj was the person who got the closest. Mork and Morden Knight were up there. Plenty of people got it. A lot of people remember or know about the white car meta. So let's have a look at some of the people who didn't get those. So not guess shaming here at all, because to be honest, I thought Gwat when we started. But this is a classic example about knowing about where the cars are, right? So a similar looking country, which is Guatemala, has a similar barred car, but it's different enough where you can pinpoint between the two. You said about it's a white car with...
Yeah, those are just kind of things you gotta learn when you see them. So yeah, the white car with the bars, they're like stuck together. Meanwhile, Guatemala has no front, but it has, you can see the rear view mirrors, and obviously it has the bars as well.
Yeah. So yeah, that little piece of information can help you go from getting a 2,000 point guess. I think this is what you probably get for this. Oh no, 1,500. So that can take you going from 1,500 points to, well, getting up 4,900 plus, knowing the coverage in the car, and that can make a huge amount of difference when you're doing, a challenge or something like that. So a few factors that went into play there. Cool. Let's move on to
meta there. Yeah, I'm back.
Hey, Lighty.
Welcome
So
back.
we had a lovely Dominican Republic to start. So we're just giving the guys about 30 seconds or so to make a guess, and then we're just going to talk through how you and RC would approach this, and what information you would use to make a guess yourself. So those who kind of know what they're doing and they want to make a guess straight off the bat, go for it. This is your chance to do it. And then for those of us who want to get a bit more of the perspective and then make a guess, can do so in a second. So I'm just going to go around here, show some of the information. There is the sun. There's that little truck. And then this is what you can see of the car. Okay, that's about 30 seconds. So, my immediate thoughts, I immediately go America, but that might not be right. So how would you help determine this place? What's your first thoughts when you come into this?
Yeah, yeah, definitely USA, I think, and you can tell that based off the yellow lines in the center with the white on the outside, which you can find in other countries, but along with that, we do have the English. So,
and we have the English. We have the American style pickup truck. We have open mailboxes that are pretty much typical North American.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
of course, big USA flag right
there. Yeah, which is quite typical of America.
An
right?
advanced meta is if you know, I mean, that's one of the easiest ones, but if you know US states license plates, then you see it's yellow, it's bright yellow, that should be New York. I mean, Alaska has that too, but that is definitely no northern landscape.
Yeah, I agree.
And obviously for a more basic, we've got obviously the driving on the right. I mean, is there anything else here? I think there's like there's the name of a cemetery here, Gachi Cemetery is an interesting name.
If you have much time, you recognize it's New York State. You can maybe even 5K that, but with 30 seconds.
Yeah, you're going to struggle a
not
little bit
possible.
with that. And obviously we've got the sun here as well. That helps factor it in. So we're going to say sort of the New York. So New York is. So this is where my knowledge falls apart. It's not just a city, but it's a state, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
And we're talking.
And New York City isn't
Yeah.
even the capital of New York State.
Yeah. So we're talking very much about the state. So in terms of is this called what's the American term for this? Is this an intersection? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, intersection or junction usually.
Yeah. So we're at some sort of intersection, so you could factor that in to where I guess. Where would you like me to click? Any particular place that comes to mind with this at all?
I guess in the more northern upstates part
Yeah.
that can be also misleading. It could be just south of the lake, but yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, maybe somewhere over there. Yeah.
Let's go. We'll plunk it down here, see what we get. And we were 41 miles away, so pretty close. And let's have a look at how other people did. So Geowizard's attorney actually, I didn't realize Geowizard's attorney also played Geoguessr. That's quite impressive. So Lyoto with the 449 there, very, very close. And yeah, the descriptors were completely right. It was northern New York. We were at the Oswegatchie Saga. Obviously, this helps determine that the cemetery is listed there. So if you're moving around, that would have helped out. Hugo coming second, and CXP34, really good guess as well. So I think a couple people went for Sim. Sim went with the Alaska guess. So I think she was using that license plate.
I think that was just for the lulz.
Or for the
maybe.
Or for the maybe.
Because
Hopefully.
2 days ago she had Alaska versus New York toss-up location on her stream.
Oh, okay, right, sure. Well, joke or not, it was really good. So obviously a few things factoring in there. I think that one was quite easy to determine the country. You got the flag in there, you've got the roadside, so on and so forth. But again, those tiny little details really help pull through. So the license plate really helping there. And then a little bit of knowledge about what the kind of area looks like as well, which is far harder to get. But if you knew about the license plate and you found the flag,
narrowing down, if you know the license plate, narrowing down it in this respective state is pretty easy, I'd say. But a whole lot of the US, especially in the Midwest and especially in the cities of the Midwest, it looks so repetitive and the same. You could be in a southern Texas town that has nice planted trees, but it looks like South Dakota, for example.
Yeah. Sort of America, a difficult one to get good points on when you've got sort of short time frames. Moving around can help, but not the easiest place to guess in the world. So those little details can really make a difference. Okay, so we're on to round 3 then. Give you guys around 30 seconds again to make a guess if that's what you want to. Here's some cars and some license plates. Old people in chairs, Meta, if you know that one.
If it's that country, it's a Mercedes Meta.
I think people hate not having control of the camera, because I would, and I don't think I show people what they want to look at necessarily.
I'd say take a peek into the sky.
What, into our car, or into the car that's behind us?
Sky.
Oh, sky! You said car. Well, we'll take a peek in the car as well if you want. So interesting. So there's some characteristics of the sky that I think we'll want to have a conversation on. And then there's the sun for those that want to use it. So I'm going to turn the guesses off for that. 3, 2, 1. I see a lot of guesses just like coming in right at the last second there. So
Kurt said wait.
No, too late, kids, too late. So immediate. So we're looking around here, pretty, kind of a normal sort of location, nothing too crazy. And then there's this in the sky, a sort of a portal opening up to another dimension. All right, Kurt, we're opening the guesses up for 5 seconds. Right, guys, what is in the sky? Talk me through what we're looking at here.
You want to do that, Rado?
Sure. Yeah, this is something we Geoguessr players like to call a rift. Not entirely sure why they happen, but they do occasionally happen, most oftenly in 2 countries. Those are Albania and Senegal,
That's
which
in Europe.
Yeah,
We
they're
also
pretty
have
easy
those
to
in
tell
Senegal.
apart. Yeah, Senegal and Albania though are pretty easy to tell apart.
Yeah.
You would hope so. Basically, it narrows you down to 1 country here, which is Albania. And along with that, we also have the cars, which have a specific license plate. Basically, cars in Albania have blue on both sides of the plate. And
Either
that
that
only
or on
means,
the left side a red strip.
yeah, the
Yeah,
old plates from like 90s cars and before have the red strip on the plate,
So
as you can see there.
this is really interesting. So you've got a red strip here, yeah, on this car, and then you've got the double strip here. Quick question: do you find the rift in Montenegro as well, or is it exclusively Albania, or is it really rare to find in Montenegro? What's going on with that?
Both in Montenegro and Albania, but coastal Montenegro doesn't have rifts.
Interesting.
Inland
Yeah,
Montenegro every time has rifts.
sometimes it can be a little tough to like decide between the two, but if you have a car, try and look out for the plates, and that can be a lot more help.
Yeah.
If you wanna determine if you're in Albania or Montenegro because of the rift, look out for old Mercedes.
Yeah. So I think it was Top Gear I was watching where they mentioned that the percentage is like 80+% of cars in Albania are Mercedes. I don't quote me on that, but I just remember hearing that and thinking I need to ask Kurt about that immediately. So we're thinking Albania with this guess. Anywhere in
I think
particular?
Kurt has a Mercedes, personally.
Where would you guys plonk this one down? What do you reckon?
I had no idea where in the country I chose.
Yeah, kind of
Somewhere
tough to tell.
Okay.
Kind of tough to tell because Albania is so small, just somewhere in the middle.
Well, we love.
You're sure to get 4.5, 4.3k points there.
We love Rana, so we'll go there. But yep, so Rift's really interesting. It seems like it's maybe where it's failed to like stitch part of the pictures together or something. I don't know. It's hard to tell, I guess, what causes that.
Yeah, or the 360 camera has such problems. I have no idea.
Yeah. So yeah, even though actually it feels like we're quite far away, it was only 30 miles, and that still gives us 4,800 points, which is a decent amount, an easy country to guess. So yeah, the rifts tell you so much, but obviously on top of that, you've got some extra information that does certainly help as well. So
hey,
let's
look, Ben, you're such a pro. You're just 1 point behind of me.
Oh my god! How this? All thanks to this podcast, I would never been able to do it.
Podcast is genius.
So well done to Simi beating Kurt in his own country. Politics is up there as well. So here's the meme. Did anyone go for Senegal? No, they didn't. Okay, so we all had like a good guess on there. So people guessing outside of Albania. Hopefully you picked something up there with the rift. This is more information that we'll look to cover in further detail in episodes where we're covering Europe as a continent and to help point these kind of things out. But you kind of
Interestingly enough, we have no Montenegro guess.
Yeah, not a single one.
Yeah.
The closest was Mort, but he wasn't over the border. So yeah. So I hope hopefully you're getting a little bit of an idea of the things to check for and keep in mind when you're making your guesses. So let's move on to the 4th round. Give you guys again 30 or so seconds to guess. So again, this is something we've covered in today's episode. So if you remember from what we talked about earlier, straight off the bat, that's something to keep in mind. And then looking around here, not too much in this one. We're not in a city, not in a town, so nice and rural, which I think all Geoguessr players like. Separates the beans from the boys. And then we've got the sun. And I think people want a zoom in on the sign. I can certainly do that. There you go. I think some sort of buildings in the distance there. This is what's below. And yeah, I'll give you guys... You got about 10 seconds to make your guess. And I'm turning it off. There we go. Right, I think that's most people made their guess. 3, 2, 1. There you go. So I think the first thing I noticed then, so from a conversation earlier, this is a Gen 2 camera. Am I right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. And the key point to that obviously is the whopping great bloody halo. Thanks for the follow, Taboo.
Alongside with the huge car blur down.
Yep.
Which in Generation 3 only Japan and Switzerland have.
Okay, so that's a big factor. Now, that doesn't actually make it that much easier to place a guess if you don't know the generation coverage, because I have no idea. That would only tell me that it is Gen 2. It wouldn't actually help for me personally place a guess down. So, obviously, does the Gen 2 here make a big difference, or is here kind of it's less important?
For me, definitely it makes a difference because as the sun tells you, you're definitely in the northern hemisphere. So it's not the usual South Africa country, for example, where you have ubiquitous Generation 2. And along with the road sign that has a special style with the lighter red border, kind of worn down, this one, but
it's a bit battered,
usual. In my opinion, that can only be two countries. No, just one country, sorry. Because the other country has a yellow road sign. It can only be France.
Only France. Interesting. RC, any extras to add on to that, or are you kind of on the same thought process there?
Yep, I agree. I think the vegetation definitely looks Mediterranean, and Gen 2 is pretty common in France, so...
You could have a Generation 2 in Spain as well, but the style of the road sign isn't correct because Spain doesn't have a white outer border. Spain has red alongside all of the borders.
Interesting. Okay, and then obviously the side of no other cars here. Which way are we going? We're a big blur down here.
Right side drive.
Right side drive because of the road sign, so that helps a little bit as well. So we're saying France. Now, is this going to be more? Am I right in saying this is more southern France?
Yeah.
Right. And
yes.
Whereabouts would you plonk a guess? Where do you reckon we should go?
Probably like even closer to the coast, maybe. I don't think it's too far away.
Could be close to the coast, I guess, in between the coast and Clermont-Ferrand. Because there are rolling hills there, but you can see that all by looking in the map and judging by those things we talked about earlier.
Where's that? Whereabouts is that?
Slightly north in the middle of the two green parts.
The two green parts.
One town.
What, here?
And there's the Clermont-Ferrand town, and I guess pretty much in between the coast.
Oh, here we go. Classic. I knew it was that. I was just
could be wrong, could be very close to the coast, could be even Corsica, but don't think.
Yeah, I even thought about Corsica as well.
Me as well, yeah.
Interesting. Right, let's plonk it down and see where we get. Ah, okay, interesting. So, yeah, it was here. This
This was the
this
other one.
this location. So, yeah. So, I mean, in terms of the information that we used, it kind of whittled it down. But again, you've still got an element of you've got an element of luck in your guessing, so you can obviously help pinpoint it, but you're not always going to get 100% every time. Even though Geowizard might do, as some people have pointed out. The wonderful Kurt YN did get the closest. Let's have a look at the overall scores. So, I mean, looking back, is there anything that you think we might have missed or anything, or is this just kind of one of those things?
I think Nighty might need to review his signs a little. Me as well, maybe. But other than
No,
that,
those signs are common in France as well. They're not the Italian. Also, it looked like a typical Generation 2 sign in Europe. So, yeah, Italy, of course, also has Generation 2
Yep.
camera. But I personally disregarded Italy as a whole because I didn't think of Sardinia at all.
Yep.
And Sardinia is just one of that weird spots. Either you get it spot on or you're just away from it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I think personally I would have gone Greece. Just because I don't know. Just reminds me of
Greece has yellow road signs.
Yellow road signs. So yeah, that's the factor. So again, some of the factors helping you like nail it down. Some of the meta, some of the knowledge about countries and stuff. But sometimes it does come down to making a crazy guess. So yeah, that's an interesting one. So that is a pretty difficult guess. As you can see, the drop off in scores is quite gradual as people guessing all different places around Europe. Pretty interesting. So I think we're onto the last round here. And again, we'll give you guys about 30 or so seconds to get your guess in. And we'll go over to the boys for a bit more information. So this is what we can see. So we've got some cars down here. There's a corner of a license plate there.
Oh, there are no street signs visible. Wow.
The
Pretty bad in that country.
classic yellow bordered window. If you know, you know. A little bit more of a license plate there. I'm just going to invoke my once a stream fuck off politics. Obviously outside some sort of school here.
Could you zoom into the intersection at the back where there's a road sign visible but oversaturated?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Thanks.
I was worried you might see zoom into the school, which would have been less comfortable about doing, but if it helps the guest, it helps the guest. Right, so I think that's enough information for you guys to make your guess. So a couple more seconds to do that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, there we go. So now this, I'm going to come straight out the bat with it, with my noob interpretation of what we're looking at. Is this a Gen 2 or Germany style camera or not? Or is it just because it's a little bit darker that it is?
Yeah. You can see a ring on the top and on the bottom. Then I feel like
and
once you start...
it's a bit more sad. Not a saturated Gen 2.
Grayish.
Yeah.
Spitz is a sad camera, okay. Okay, so that pinpoints us to. Am I right in saying Germany? Is that agreed?
Yes.
Okay, and then obviously this is quite a difficult location, I guess, in terms of there's no road signs or anything particular we can get like a location from.
We have street signs, and in Germany you can oftentimes determine the city by the street signs.
Okay.
And that one not saturated street sign on the left of that one looks like a white one. White road sign.
White road
Yeah,
sign.
yeah, here
Interesting.
by the garbage can.
Yeah. Okay.
Where you've
Interesting.
seen them before. And white road signs in Germany almost always means Berlin.
Right in.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Blimey.
I use one other thing to try and figure out where in Germany it is. On the car just to the south of us, there's actually you can see just a little bit of the license plate, and I think you can kind of make out a B on there.
Oh yeah. So
And
this one
you
down here.
know,
Yeah.
On
yeah,
the left
right
side.
there. If you know a little bit about German license plates, then you'll know that they're the first letter or it's either like one letter or two letters or three letters depending on how large the city is, but the letter stands for like which city you're in. So B is obviously Berlin.
Right. Okay. So
It's the same in Switzerland, Austria, and Romania.
Yeah,
interesting.
Romania as well.
Fascinating. Okay. So Germany it is, and then obviously two key factors there that might have been difficult to get in 30 seconds, but entirely possible if you've got that mindset of what do I need to find out where I am. And maybe, would it be fair to say that once you've kind of established, okay, European, Gen 2, are you immediate in 30 seconds, are you going to look for that starting letter in a license plate and the sign being, do you think you guys would have picked those up in 30 seconds?
With those clues on that location, yes, I would have figured it out for
Okay.
Berlin.
So yeah, entirely possible to do if you've got that mindset. And I guess what we're talking about again, freeing up time by being able to like immediately recognize where we could be based on some factors to then use the smaller details to kind of pinpoint. So we're saying Berlin, and it was in fact Berlin. 7 miles away. We got 90, obviously very very close. We went almost to the same place actually. It's interesting. So let's have a look at the scores. How many people picked up on that? A decent amount. Obviously, a lot of people getting Germany. And I think it just came down to which city you guessed. I know everyone's a big fan of Dortmund. A couple people over here as well. A couple in Cologne. Apparently, I don't know if that's how you say it or not, but I saw.
And many cities in Germany also have blue street signs, but with different fonts. So if you have enough German locations during your Geoguessr career, you can also make out those.
Yeah, brilliant. I think so. I think we all had a read on it being, European. I think that was immediately obvious. But again, like, if you did guess, let's say you guessed Hungary, you're putting in 3,500 points. Not bad. If you're pulling in Germany, and if you're pulling in Berlin specifically, you're getting those top tier points, which is it's going to help you get an extremely high score. And the information's there. It's not luck all the time. You can pinpoint stuff off these very highly specific things. And that's what we're hoping to try and establish with the podcast, help you kind of pick up information. I've actually learned a disgusting amount of information tonight, just from covering the basic stuff. And I wrote the script of what we were going to cover. So I think that says a lot, really, doesn't it? So yeah, good point, Leo. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out. We'll have a look at the summary. Let's just see how everyone did overall. The winner wasn't Tilka Olympia because he only did one guess. I'll have to wait for those to recome around. Thank you for Absolute Human for the follow there. So, and Joan as well. Thank you very much. So Apple was the overall winner there. Anyone who doubts Big Appy as being any good at the game, there you go. Obviously we came second, but I had the help of the two best players. Kurt, very, very well performed. Politics did really, really well as well. Mork, Wild Knight, Simi, Meatloaf, Nighty, White Fox all in the top 10. So, yep, some really, really good scores there. Some people scoring well with not even 5 guesses. So, yeah, congratulations if you're up there. Well done to Apple for taking that home. So what I will say is that is kind of the conclusion of our first episode. I want to say an absolutely massive thank you to both RC and Nighty for agreeing to be a part of this. I messaged them some time ago and floated the idea with them, and they've been nothing but supportive since. And they're taking time out of their day to help further the community. They're really, really incredible players, and you know, I can't thank them enough for that. So make sure you thank those guys as much as you can.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be a shame if we would have declined.
Well, I mean, I wasn't sure who else
With that
to.
wonderful streamer.
I'm not sure if anyone tuned in to watch me try and give any amount of information on Geoguessr. So, Nighty said that he doesn't have many places that he wants for you to go and check out. But he does have his Geoguessr profile, which you're welcome to go and make friends with him on. RC, on the other hand, you do stream occasionally.
If you didn't watch my YouTube videos, maybe you should watch it. Just search for the user 90.
Yeah,
They're pretty old, but they are existent.
Yeah, so 90's YouTube channel is here in the chat if you want to go and check that out. And then RC, you also make YouTube content and stream as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? What sort of times they are? When can people come find you?
Yeah, Twitch, I don't really have that much time for, but I try and stream like once a month, and then YouTube, try and put out a video maybe once every 2 weeks. Try to keep it like high quality videos, so like good content. So if you want to check me out there, of course, go and do that.
Sweet. Yes, go support the guys. They're incredible to watch. And yeah, as you've seen tonight, the amount of knowledge that they've got is amazing. As you know, if you're tuning into this stream and you're following, you're subscribing, you're supporting, anything like that, you're amazing. Thank you so much. I stream Geoguessr fairly regularly. We do all sorts of challenges and weird bits and bobs here. I've also got the YouTube channel in which you'll find the entire episode here, and we'll be cutting up this into bits. So if you want to recall the information without having to watch the whole 2 hours essentially again, then you can go and check that. So full episode will be available if you want to watch it while you're supposed to be doing work or something like that. But if you want to go back to specific elements, we'll be cutting those up into different chunks. So yeah, really, really appreciate all the support shown tonight. I think what we're going to do now is I'll let you guys go, and we'll call the stream here. It's been absolutely amazing. So yeah, thank you again for all the help, guys.
It was also great fun. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yep, thanks for having us on.
Not to worry. Brilliant. All right, see you in the next episode, and yeah, have a good rest of your night, guys.
Same for you. Thanks.
See you.
Right, well, fucking hell. There we go. So the next episode will be South America, which is a continent that nobody likes to make guesses in unless you've got some level of skill. So we're going to be taking that, going to go away, do some research, get the guys' guides in, get their ideas in. We'll put together the episode, and we'll announce the next episode, which you can find on announced on my Twitter. You can find announced in the Discord if somebody wants to link the invite for that. And also we'll talk about it when that comes around on stream. I'm going to try and make it as soon as possible, but I work a full-time job. These sort of things take a little bit of time, unfortunately. So yeah, I really, really appreciate the support. The viewers have been really, really cool and really crazy. Far more than I'd ever expect to get for something like that. And I know we covered off a lot of information and stuff that is, has been covered kind of before. But I appreciate you guys sticking around and supporting regardless. And I'm hoping future episodes, for those of you who are a little bit better at Geoguessr, will maybe be a little bit more helpful to kind of putting you where you think you might be. So yeah, Sim Rogers got the correct Discord link there in her chat. So be sure to check that out. And yeah, again, thank you to everyone who tuned in. And as always,
beans, beans, beans.
Shut up, Alex.
Beans, 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 beans.
The tracky shirt combo.
Beans,
Legendary.
beans, 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 beans.
Beans, beans, motherfucker.
Beans, beans,
Beans, beans, beans, beans, beans, beans, beans, beans, beans, beans, beans, beans, beans, beans, beans, beans. Good night, everybody. It's the long sleep. The long good night. Love you all. Thanks for the support. Have a good night. See you soon.